Wow, the altcoin market has been in a free fall, which means I totally need to sell all my altcoins while they're down and buy something safe. Now, is that something that you've heard or something along those lines, or even been tempted to do? Well, usually that goes very poorly, and yet so many people do that because the emotions run high in this space, and everyone wants it so bad, and they don't want to mess up. Well, today we're going to go into some things about the OMI token. We're going to go into altcoins and just some investing principles. We're also going to go into VeVe updates and what's going on with Ecomi, since that's the principal focus on today's show. All right. Well, as you know, I have two legends joining me for these episodes, Doctor of Stuff and the real Randy Chavez. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
What's up, Rain? What's up, Randy?
Good evening, gentlemen. How's it going?
What's going on, guys? This
Happy
last
19th.
week has been savage on altcoins. Should I be worried?
You know, I'm not worried. I went camping and didn't even check. And it's interesting you bring that up. I mean, in some of the VC channels we have, there's some people that are really panicking. VC investors that are panicking, and they're just like, "What happened to this bull run? What's going on? Is the bull run over?" And I'm like, "Really?" I'm blown away. I'm blown away that people are truly asking that, right? Like, we just got the Bitcoin spot ETF. The spot ETH ETF is about to get approved, right? And it's like, anyways. So yeah, not for me. Not worried. In fact, I literally just bought over 1 million OMI 20 minutes ago. And
why would you be buying something when it's down? Shouldn't you buy when it's high?
I've tried that before and it didn't work out for me.
Right. I think we've all tried that and it almost never works out.
Yeah. So, but definitely there's some other coins that I'm going to be getting, but just wanted to get some OMI on base. All my OMI's on ETH, and so got some OMI on base. And man, I think it cost me like $1.25 for the transaction fee. It's phenomenal compared to $20-$30 plus, to do it on ETH. So fantastic. But what about you, Randy? How you feeling about altcoins being down?
There's a couple of things. I guess the short answer is that altcoins just haven't had a sustained run yet, and a lot of retail isn't in yet. A lot of the people a lot of the videos collectively that are on YouTube, they're getting a fraction of the amount of views that they did back in 2020 when Bitcoin was this high. And because the Bitcoin ETFs have been approved and they've been buying, you can gather that most of the new money that's gone on into crypto has really just been institutions, and they're not really buying altcoins; they're just buying Bitcoin and soon Ethereum. That will change. I mean, that spending will keep sustaining up until the big bull run comes in, X amount of days after the halving, whenever that is. But then there's a longer answer. I posted about it yesterday. We got 2 minutes. I can read that. Okay. I often get asked how I stay positive when VeVe delays its timelines or when OMI reaches a new low, or worse, when people actively wish for my demise or death. But
the third one should be a compliment. It really is.
That's how you know you're going in the right direction. But I said that the short answer is I've seen this before. The company's CEO has such grand ambitions and the team can't keep up the pace, so they have to hire the correct team. And I believe they've done that. But there's a longer answer. I remember the first time where I really understood what it was meant to be an investor. And it wasn't with high-risk lending that I did when I first got out of the military. It wasn't with Pokemon cards, even though I did fairly well with both of those. Most of the criticisms I received on those investments were small compared to when I went all in on Tesla. Everyone on Facebook, YouTube, and the few who followed me on X called me an idiot. Took the average person a while to catch up to what Elon was doing, but when they did, they couldn't buy the stock at the prices that I got in at. In this investment, I think, okay, well, who is VeVe? Is it the community managers who, for the moment, are in the saddle? Do they decide what VeVe is or isn't? Is it the founders, the blockchain team? These are mere parts of the company, not the whole
Uh-oh. It froze right in the middle of Randy's message.
I know. Anytime someone freezes, I'm like, oh, is that me?
Yeah, I could see you moving. There we go.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know why that keeps happening. Hopefully that's the last time. But
you said in a public the whole, and then it stopped.
Oh yeah, I said they're mere parts of the company, not the whole of it. In a publicly traded company, the board and the shareholders are the company. In a community like VeVe, it's the common voice of the people. Each of you, for yourself, by yourself, and on your own responsibility, must speak out against the fudders and liars. It's a solemn and weighty responsibility. It's not to be cast aside by the bullying of haters, anti-NFT peeps, or the empty catchphrases of the liars and fudders. Yes, I'm betting on the company and its workers. I'm betting on the product. I'm betting on David and Dan, who I have the utmost faith in. I'm betting on the revenues, but I'm mostly betting on the community. Community is what makes VeVe so great. They're what gives me the most confidence to hodl and buy more. And doesn't matter what the haters say, doesn't matter what some of the influencers who are anti-NFT say, doesn't matter what the liars and fudders of the world say. As a prudent investor, I have one principle above all else: to maintain my position that a great idea is a great idea, regardless of what the odds are. And again, I've been here before. The whole world is telling you that you're stupid to sell. That's when I dig in my heels and say, absolutely not. And then I buy more. And I did. I'm up to 190 million right now. And hopefully in the next couple weeks, months, I can blow past that 200 million. I have other stuff, but that's my feelings towards that. Sorry for that really long-winded answer. Also, Rain, you're on mute.
You're on mute, Rain. Rain, you're on mute.
Bill Gardner was asking if Randy's a pixel robot. Randy's really AI. Like if you've seen The Matrix, like the old lady, yeah, that's Randy. So yes, we've seen him in real life and stuff. He's still AI. We're all in the Matrix here. So in other words, buy when everyone says it's crazy to buy. What? Why would you do that?
Well, obviously none of this is financial advice from any of us, but in the past, that's how I know I was right. When everyone that doesn't go as deep in the company as I did. Now, if there was people that had lived and breathed this space and they've been successful in the past and they've had successful like investments in the past, I'd be like, okay, maybe I'm doing something wrong. But if most of the people I feel like just don't understand it, which is fine. To go super deep into a company and then to understand it, it's hard. It's not easy. But that's generally my rule of thumb. If everyone's saying no and to something that they don't really understand, okay, keep it up. But then when everyone is going and saying like, oh, this is the best thing ever, it'll never go down, buy now, it's like, might be a decent time to get out at that point. Again, for myself.
Is it fair to say the common crypto sentiment on Akomi is that 90% of people are saying Akomi, sell it, it's dead, nothing's ever going to happen with it?
Yeah, 90%. Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah. And
the audience probably already knows this because they probably heard me say it, but 90% of people do very badly in crypto. Funny how those numbers are, we're rounding here, so I don't know if they're exactly the same, but funny how they correlate. And 5% do exceptionally well, and the remaining 5% does okay. So what are the top 5% of performers in the investing space? Because a lot of people come from all kinds of backgrounds. They enter crypto and they think they know what they're doing, but they've actually never had serious time investing in volatile markets like crypto. And so they're new to this. And that's most of who that 90% is. So the people who are new to this are all saying, sell OMI, it's dead, it's going down. Why would you ever buy when those 90% of people are saying sell? They must know what they're talking about because it's 90% of people.
It's the Pareto distribution.
Yeah. It was interesting. So shout out to Kyle Wilson. He was the one who created the red O, right? He started that. And then kind of since left the VeVe community and OMI community after that whole Paul Barron debacle. I still like Kyle, still talk with him every now and again. And he made this video recently just kind of talking about, okay, do you say manga? Is it manga or manga?
Manga.
Okay, the manga announcement and things. And he brought up some good points and things. One of the things that was really interesting, though, is he because there's kind of been this thing where I don't remember who tweeted it out, but like Hello K had done like some sort of technical analysis like a year ago, saying that it was going to 0004. And so then, you know, it's gotten into 0004s and people are like, oh, everyone called out K for this, and look, he was right. And I was like, do you guys like understand technical analysis? Like technical analysis is like a short-term thing. So in the short term, a year ago, he was saying that it was going to go to 0004, but really all he was doing was saying this is like a support level for 000, well, 0005. So if it broke that, right, it would go down. And I was like, you can't like look at someone's comment from like a year ago doing technical analysis and be like, see how they were right? Like that's not how technical analysis works. And where I'm going with this is he was like, you know, we need more people in the VeVe community that will do technical analysis on the token. And I'm like, well, first and foremost, I've talked to several technical analysis experts, and most of them say when you have low liquidity on a token, it is harder to really do token analysis. So there's that. And honestly, right now, the OMI token volume is lower. You can still do it, but like it's more difficult to kind of predict those, right? But then I was like, you know that Crypto Rain, like on Thursdays with Paul, like Paul is one of the most expert TA people out there in the space. Literally works with multimillionaires, and that's what he does for a living is technical analysis, you know, for these. And I'm like, and he will do that on the OMI token. And sometimes he'll be like, on the show, Rain typically never does like a sell, but it's either like, is it a buy or is it like a wait and see? Or, you know, like, so Paul will just look at the technical analysis, and then Crypto Rain will say, well, here's the fundamental analysis, and then here's my thoughts on that, right? But it blows me away that someone's looking at a technical analysis from a year ago and pointing to that as like, see how this person is smart and they were right, because really all they did was say, here's a support level, and if it breaks this, it can get down to this point. But they were saying that it was more than likely going to do that a year ago. Not that it could do that in a year. Anyone can do that. Anyone can say, hey, if it breaks this support level, it'll go down to here. If it breaks this support level, it'll go down to here. Literally, I could do that, and I'm not a TA expert, right? So it's just be very careful who you listen to, I guess is all I'm saying. And like it just blows my mind. I think that the lack of experience in this space, that someone's pointing to that as listen to those people who got it wrong a year ago. Did they eventually get it right? Because, you know, sentiment, sure. Like if you want to say that they were like, here's a support level, and it breaks this, it'll go down below that. Anyone could do that. So sorry, I'm kind of rambling on there, but it just kind of blows me away. And all I can say is pick who you listen to. Like, what are those people? How are they successful? The people who are sitting there tweeting this out, who are hating on Randy, what are they building? What are they doing? What are they successful in? Truly. And maybe they are. And then I'm saying, hey, and I constantly will try to interact with people who are just being like, OMI's crap. And I'm like, what are you interested in? And like 99% of the time, they don't have anything else. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to listen to you because you obviously don't know the space. If all you're doing is spending all of your time crapping on the OMI token, but you're not out there exploring other tokens and other projects and saying, here's what I'm more bullish on, I'm like literally your word has no weight with me. And I just hope that people think about that. As you're interacting on Twitter, and those people, it's like, what are they doing? How have they been successful? And then make an assessment based off of that.
It's like America and the rest of the countries of the world and innovation. It's like, okay, if the rest of the countries are going to copy the U.S., those rest of the countries are going to try to reverse engineer stuff from the U.S. I think those are like the fudders that they don't spend any time working on themselves. They only try to. Fudders obviously hate on what they know, which is OMI, and the other countries, they just try to reverse engineer other missiles, other aircraft, other drones. And the US doesn't really care because they're so innovative. It's like, okay, you can try to do this model from 2 years ago. We're already working on our second and third model after that. The way Dan and David don't really engage with the fudders, it's just like, hey, what we're building is more important than your petty lies and the petty squabbles that you're Now, obviously, if there's an actual issue that's good, that we can use that as a metric and be like, hey, this is actually something that you could work on. And I feel like they've done that. Like lowering that cash out from 500 to 100. I feel like that helps people out that maybe only had 80 or $100 in there and couldn't really do that. But yeah, the FUDders, I think, came off the heels of it was like Asian Dan's quote, where it was like, hey, Randy, congrats on the deal, whatever. And it was like public with it. Oh, I mean, Mr. MC1 and everyone, which I assume has never bought anything meaningful before in any type of company or has been done any work in VC. They're like, okay, Randy, that's Mr. MC1, that's too much to buy for Randy's channel, and they just don't understand how things are valued. And I feel like that's something that we should go over as well, because a lot of people think that VeVe is just they're not worth what they're worth, and because they don't know how to value it.
I do want to step back into like being careful in who you're listening to. Like when I was new in the crypto space in 2017 and people had a YouTube channel, so I assumed that they knew what they were talking about, especially like the larger number of subscribers they had. And it took me like 3 years to really realize how much that's not true. That most people with crypto YouTube channels are not necessarily investors. They don't necessarily know investing. In fact, most people that have the most popular YouTube channels in crypto are actually quite bad at investing. Yet because they have a big YouTube channel, people think they know what they're talking about. Just because somebody goes in there and they put up some charts and they show you some technical analysis, that does not mean they're a good investor. Now, I remember feeling this need when I was 3 years in that, I got to get good at technical analysis to get really good at investing. Now, I had been in real estate, and in real estate, it's really hard to do technical analysis on it. And my general thesis was that the market swings every 17 years to 24 years. It completes a full cycle from top to top. So generally, when it's down, you buy, and generally when it's up, you sell. But there's no technical analysis to do. That's the principle that I had learned in real estate investing. The problem is the cycles are so long. In crypto, we have this condensed 4-year cycle. And I was thinking, gosh, if I got really good at technical analysis, that would really make a huge difference. But what I found out is over time, all these TA experts didn't make shit in crypto. I watched as most of them, their channels folded and they didn't do anything. They didn't make reasonable money at all. And yet myself and a few other people made life-changing gains by just doing what I did in real estate. When generally it was down, I bought. And generally when it was up, I sold. And that same principle works. And so and it wasn't just me that did it that way. It was some other people that did that way. And we all had massive success compared to all these other people, many of which were really good at TA and yet did terrible in crypto. I was like, oh, does TA even matter? Well, a little bit. Now, Paul, who joins us on Wednesdays, has 30 years technical analysis experience and price analysis. That is unusual. He he has some very, very, very big whales outside of the crypto space who go to him and say, hey, what do you think on this, Paul? There's some very rich people who listen to Paul for very specific advice. So being able to have somebody like that come on the channel and share some price analysis is amazing. Now, he has very different principles on what he invests in than me, but he's exceptionally good. And within the window that he buys, like he crushes everyone I've ever seen at technical analysis in the crypto space. But he doesn't just buy crypto. He buys all these different markets, and he's really good at what he does. I do like bringing him on because it kind of gives people a very different approach to mine that also worked for him. I do argue that my model I've seen in the crypto space work far better within this 4-year cycle because the people that I know that followed this model have made millions. Meanwhile, most people in crypto really didn't do reasonably well. So it's a model that works. Now, as far as valuing companies, you're right, Randy. Most people don't know how to value companies or what it is. And like, they don't know how to value VeVe, OMI. So let's go into that part.
Sure. When I was, one of the comments on Asian Dan's post was, and I'm not trying to be racist there, that's his name on Twitter. Dan Lee's name is Asian Dan. So anyone that's going to try to clip that, one of the comments on his post, like, okay, well, if Mr. MC1's buying 10% of Randy's channel for $10,000, it's a $100,000 valuation. I'm trying to see where that $100,000 was made over the last couple of years on the channel. So one, if you're going to try to find it's just going to measure it saying like, oh, it's only worth $100,000 if he's made $100,000.
Yeah.
I don't know where anyone would try to get that from. Usually for small businesses was like a 3 to 5x times earnings. If it's small business, give or take.
Well, it's like EBITDA. EBITDA is typically what's used there, right? Like,
Yeah.
So 3 to 4, and it's going to depend on the space that you're in, because it could be higher than that, or it could be lower than that, right?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the margin too.
And average, yeah, exactly. Margin, that's a big deal. Yeah, well, and that's what EBITDA tries to do, right? Is really break down that earning before interest, tax, depreciation, and what is it?
Amortization.
Yeah, thank you. So
and that's a whole different math when you try to amortize stuff. I've only ever figured out like mortgages and stuff like with an amortization calculator. Like I can't do it otherwise. It's a really hard thing to do. There's also determining what is undervalued. You can be like, okay, well, let's look at the books. Are you growing? Are you falling? And if I can go in and buy part of this company, what does that get me access to? So Mr. MC1 going and taking a look at this, saying like, okay, Randy, you've only had one sponsored video, and it was by Epico, and you've had this channel for X amount of years. So what he's looking at is a very, very small line number, a very, very small thing of revenue. It's like Mr. MC1's super connected. It's like I can go in and he's a bunch of VCs. He knows a bunch of VCs. He's on like a bunch of boards. He sees these types of deals all the time that he can't take advantage of because he doesn't really have that YouTube channel. And he has enough of a following where he could likely be ambassador or take sponsorships and post on X or whatever. But maybe he doesn't, because if he does one, he can't do the other. But all of that, now he can funnel onto my channel, and I'll get sponsorships left and right. He'll get 10% of that. So he's seeing not just what the channel has made, but the potential of what it could make. And again, he has all his stuff. And then also he probably could have asked for this anyway, but just access to my network and stuff. And Ray, should we announce the trip that we might be going on soon?
Yeah, there's a really big trip going on. I do want to say on that, right? Like when I heard about that deal, I was like, that is a win-win. What I like in business deals is that both sides win. When I heard about the amount and everything, I was like, that sounds just about right. And that's a win for both of you tremendously. You have an incredible network that's bar none, and that can put Sanjay in touch with some of your network, as well as he has an incredible network. So in many ways, it's cool that you're both tied at the hip now, and that creates a win for both of you. So yeah, so that trip, yeah, if you want to announce it, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's I've teased it, I think, on X before, where I had there's a good friend of mine that's just an investor, and he had me meet a friend of his. We call him Sonny. He's like, Randy, if you can, put money here, put money there, and get me 30% gains in like 6 months or a year or whatever. It's like, I'll have all my friends in India go in and come in. I was like, well, I have to go to India anyway, and I mentioned Prince Manvendra because he wanted me as his royal guest over there. For those that don't know, he's the first openly gay prince. Had a lot of backlash with that because in India it's kind of frowned upon. He's been on Oprah a bunch of times, been on the Kardashian show, and we will go there, and he will hopefully come on to the stuff that we're doing and be interested in that. And we'll do that in the next couple months, along with Crypto Rain, my friend Sunny, and then now Mr. MC1. So we have that. So that'll be going to a palace. Will be really fun as royal guests. I can't wait to wear the robes. I can't wait to go in. Apparently there's like wild elephants and stuff. I was like, whoa. So yeah, Sanjay's pretty happy. I think everyone involved is pretty happy.
Yeah, that was a cool deal when I heard about it. And I like Bill Gardner said, agreed, Rain. I saw it more of as a business network agreement. Exactly. And seemed like a real win-win. So like, you don't even have to, like anybody attacking that. Cool. Everyone can have an opinion. Doesn't mean their opinion is worth much there. Cool. They don't like the deal. Cool. They're not even part of it. So what do they have to worry about? When I heard about it, I was like, yeah, I like the deal.
Yeah, no, I was just going to jump in with that. Sorry, I thought you were done, Rain. I did see a lot of people that were like, that's terrible investment. And I'm like, okay, so you've got this multimillionaire who's done like so countless VC deals and investing, and you're on Twitter 24/7 telling him that it's a bad deal. I was like, okay. And this is my point, right? Like you get so many talking heads like that are just like armchair quarterbacks, or I mean, keyboard warriors, and they're going to go and tweet from their grandma's basement, right? Their mom's basement, and like on how people aren't successful and how idiotic they are and the stupid decisions they're making. And it's just like, all right, man, you do you, right? Like there's so many people out there. There's so many naysayers. And that's why like my favorite quote, right, is the man in the arena. This talks about basically, there's the people that are sitting there and they're getting criticized, but it's the guy putting in the work, the blood, sweat, and tears, man. Like that's the person who counts. And all those people that are just sitting there in the audience trying to criticize, it's just like their opinion's worth nothing. Get in there and do something. And that goes back to my point of like when people are trash talking OMI, and I'm like, okay, what are the things that you're really interested in, right? Because I believe in diversification, and OMI's not my only bag. And maybe there are a lot of projects out there, and there's not enough time. But man, if someone can pitch me something and say this makes a lot of sense, I get it, right? And then maybe I'm gonna listen to them when they're saying, here's my concerns about OMI. But until then, right, it's just like, no, you truly have, you're the guy in the audience. You're not the man in the arena. And so your opinion to me, like I don't value it at all, right? It's those people who are putting in the work and things that matter. And so Sanjay knows what he's doing, right? And he came back at you. You said 15 grand, and then he countered at 10 grand. And then you guys have had discussions, and there's some other things in the background I'm sure you're working on. But again, like it's like Rain said, a win-win in that there's a lot that Sanjay can teach you, man. About business and things. But at the same time, as he teaches you that, your channel is going to grow and it's going to get additional sponsors. And maybe it'll be people that Sanjay wants, right? And you guys can discuss that and say, well, do I want this? This is what my channel is about, right? But congratulations on that. I'm so pumped for you, man.
Thanks, man.
That's phenomenal. So well done there.
Yeah, when you said I can learn from Sanjay, as soon as he counters like, what if we do 10K? I was an immediate yes. I didn't have to think. I was like, because even if it's not what I had proposed at first, it's like the amount that we could learn from each other and that cross-pollination of clients and network, that's not invaluable. Like there's definitely a value on that, but it's worth a lot more than the extra 5K that I was looking to get. And also I think people tend to get sticker shock on a lot of things. People say like 10 grand because that's a lot to a lot of people. But to someone like Mr. MC1, who, like you said, has millions and millions, it's like, it's not a big deal for him. And so if the channel goes bust or I die, it's not going to affect him. But as the channel grows, it's like, oh, this could actually be really cool. It's not a lot of risk, and it looks like it'll be a lot of upside. But again, I think people just tend to look at 10,000 like a lot of money.
There's a lot of conversations that I've been able to make some introduction with Randy, with some CEOs of different projects that are interesting, right? And now Sanjay gets cut in on all those conversations too. And so just like there's so much value for both sides there. And Sanjay is just a solid guy. So when I heard that deal, I was happy for Sanjay. I was happy for Randy. The dollar amount was less material than just, that's a really good team. So cool. We wanted to talk about some other things on the list. Randy, you had a number of things, and Doctor, you also had some stuff. What else did you want to talk about?
I feel like I just monopolized the last part of it. So you go, Doc.
Yeah. Well, there was one point I wanted to discuss because on the last stream there was some speculation as to what the OMI season 2 reward was going to be, right? We talked about this airdrop like it was like a given, and turns out that like it's not a given, right? If you look at the season 1 like announcement and things, it basically says that this airdrop doesn't guarantee that there's going to be additional ones in the future, and so I just am trying to prep people's minds for the fact that there may not be an airdrop of another NFT, an OMI NFT, right? And I was thinking that was the case, but then as I went back and read that, realized that wasn't the case. So I think that's very important for people. Please spread the word, because I think that there's gonna be a lot of people who are gonna be pissed if all of a sudden they're like, "Where's my airdrop?" And it's like, if we can just get ahead of it, right, and address it, because it is in there. The communication is there. I forgot. I read that initially, and it's been 3 months. I've forgotten, right? The other thing that I want to break down for people, because I've seen some arguments on there, and hopefully this provides some clarity, is with respect to the MCP program and how there's levels and ranks and how all of that works, right? So as you get sets or you collect collectibles, you get those MCP points, and those build up on a daily basis. Now, the daily point accrual is what gets you your rank, right? So we know that only the top 1%, so out of all of the people on the app that are daily active users, right, 1% of those, whatever the top 1% are earning on a daily basis, that's what gets you your master collector rank. So your rank is determined by the number of daily MCP points that you accrue, right? So if you sell stuff, if you sell collectibles and things, you're losing points, and that might drop your rank. Also, as more people join and become daily active users and are brand new users, then that 1% gets a little bit bigger over time, right? So that you won't need as many points there. Then there are levels, right? So, and I don't know what the level, like each level is, but let's say that it's, the first level, you've got to earn 10,000 MCP points. Once you've earned or accrued 10,000 points, you're going to get to level 2 from level 1. And you never drop levels, right? So once you're level 1, you're level 1 forever. Like, you'll just go to the next level as your points accrue. Even if you spend them, even if you spend your MCP points, right, you don't drop levels and you don't drop ranks, because again, the ranks are tied to your daily MCP point accrual, and then your levels are just an aggregate of all the points you've earned over time. So hopefully that just clarifies it for people, because I've just seen some people get frustrated and they're like, why am I not a master collector? I have, 1.5 million points. Then it's just like, yeah, okay, you used to have a lot of collectibles, but then you sold a lot. And so now you're not in the top 1% of daily point accrual to meet that threshold. So I just thought that it would be good on this show to clarify that.
Yeah, I also thought that, they're just telling us like, it's not guaranteed. And I thought like, they're just saying that because they have to. And I thought we would be getting it. I think you're going to have to find, and most likely they would give us something if OMI to NFT was months away, because they're going to need to not convince people. They're going to have to give people a reason to continue to have their OMI on the app. And one of the ways to do that, and I get it, we already get MCP points, we get bronze tickets, and we got one airdrop. But if you're taking something away, you probably should be adding something. And I think that addition, them balancing that out, is going to be OMI to NFT. I could be completely wrong. They could not give us an airdrop, and we could not have OMI to NFT for months. Or we could have it in Q3, which is I feel like most likely. Because if you're just getting MCP points, which most people have a ton of, and if you're just getting bronze tickets, which, okay, well, the only thing that you can use bronze tickets now is for more MCP points, people have enough of, there's not a ton of incentive to keep it on the app. Yes, it's a bit more secure, I would say, than like a MetaMask or something that's susceptible to phishing scams, which we have to go over that later as well. But that's just kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in just to some on the investment side of OMI. I did want to make clear that not everyone in the VeVe fam is like, here's an investor, which is totally fine too. So this is just for like investors and thinking about things, right? So this is the OMI token. And I had some advantages when I came into crypto back in 2017, and then I had been in real estate and somewhat stocks and some other markets, but I'd been through 2 cycles in real estate, or 1.5. I guess since I started looking at real estate at such a young age, you could say 2 cycles, but I had just seen the massive swings up and then the massive swings down, and how people talked about it. And the massive swings down, everyone's like, oh, real estate's terrible. But essentially the prices were cheap. So it always confused me. The prices are really cheap. And everyone's like, oh, real estate's a bad deal. Everyone I know is getting foreclosed on. Well, everyone that you know that bought at these really high prices is getting foreclosed on. But like I don't know, isn't the principle of making money on things buying low? And right now prices are low. So why is everyone complaining about it? And so I watched that in real estate 2 full cycles before I came into crypto. Now, when I first came into crypto, I thought those rules didn't apply, that crypto was a new thing and that it was kind of going to go up only. And I thought that for about 6 months. I was brand new. That's what everyone was saying. So therefore I thought, well, they're been in this for a long time. They have a YouTube channel. They must know what they're talking about. And I realized they were just flat out wrong. And just because somebody has a YouTube channel does not mean they know what they're talking about. In fact, most with a YouTube channel in crypto don't really understand investments and investment cycles very well. There's just a few exceptions to that. So that was helpful to understand, because I came in midway through the bull run 2017 and I invested about 15,000. It went to about 165-ish. And then it went to 3,000. And at 3,000, I was kind of licking my chops. And I really realized that, gosh, crypto goes through these cycles too. And it goes through them about every 4 years. And so for the next couple of years, I bought while everything was low during that bear market. So 2019, 2020, and then 2021, everything went crazy. Just like I thought it would, just like the market cycles suggested it would. And we're going through that again. So 2021, everything went parabolic. And guess what? We had a massive retracement again. That's normal. We're now in the early bull market phase, and most altcoins are being punished during this phase, because where's the money going? Like was said earlier, a lot of the institutional money is going into Bitcoin. And for some reason, the meme coins have really hit the narrative right now. So there's a lot of focus on meme coins and some of the chains associated with those meme coins, like Solana, right? If Base had a token, Base's token would be doing amazing. It doesn't have a token, but a lot of meme coins are being traded on Solana and Base. Cool. And the institutions are buying Bitcoin, which has kept the Bitcoin price pretty solid, even though we're just kind of doing this sideways trading pullback after hitting new highs just a few months ago. So we're still gearing up for this massive bull market. And a lot of these altcoins that are getting punished now, they're going to vastly outperform what Bitcoin and what the meme coins are already at. And so right now, while many people are selling these tokens, and many people are advising you to sell tokens like OMI at these lows, I don't know. It seems to me that you buy lows, you don't sell them. And the reason people sell at these lows is they say, oh my gosh, it's going to go to zero. Okay. How in the world is VeVe going to go out of business in the next year before the bull market happens? Like, I don't see fundamentally anything going wrong with their business. Their business is one of the most solid businesses in the crypto space, and that they release these drops. They have revenues coming in. They have intellectual property that everything in the NFT space would die for. And so they're really strong as a company compared to all their competition. So the token's being punished. Cool. It had really, really, really big gains in the last bull market. Guess what happens after really, really, really big gains? Well, sometimes just savage pullbacks. And this chart I'm looking at doesn't fully reflect it, but this one does. And you can see exactly how savage these gains were. And then it's pulling back. Now, not to these lows, it's still up 10x essentially from those lows. Cool, but it's really, really cheap again. And so as an investor, I buy cheap, and then I hold it till all those people that are saying, oh, he's dead and it's dying, they're finally getting on the bandwagon. They're like, oh, he's going to go up for forever. When I hear 90% of people in a certain space saying whatever, I counter trade that. It's really that simple. So meme coins right now, it's like meme coins. Oh, it's the greatest thing. Meme coins, meme coins. Great time to be taking profits if you had some meme coins. One of the projects we reviewed earlier today with Paul, like at the price it was at, I was like, at this price, it's a sell because it's up. And someone was saying, well, yeah, it could go up further, but it's gone up like 15, 20x already. And the likelihood that it pulls back from here is really, really high. And so why wouldn't I take my gains from that and roll them into tokens that have absolutely been punished, like OMI? And if OMI goes 50x from here and I have a 10x from something else, those are some massive, massive gains. The kind of gains most people don't make in crypto because they don't take those kind of moves. The reason so many people do so poorly in crypto is they do what their emotions dictate. What do your emotions dictate at these kind of price levels? Oh my gosh, what if it goes to zero? Sell. This is an amazing time to be buying, in my opinion, for my own analysis and with my risk thresholds. I not advice to you. You get to make your own decisions. This is when I buy, and then I just wait. And I get it. There's all those people like, OMI's dead, OMI's dying. We'll see who's right on this. I was massively right the last bear market going into the bull market. Cool. That doesn't guarantee that I'm right this time, but we're going to see how it plays out. And I'm pretty confident about how OMI's going to do and a lot of these other projects, especially from this point. Most of the projects that have survived till this point have really good chances just to survive the next 6 to 12 months into the bull market and see some massive gains. Now, there is a small percent chance that the bull market doesn't come in just 12 months. Maybe it takes 18. Okay, cool. 18 months from now. How long is that to wait? Not very much. What I will say is, like, once you get the patterns of this and you can weather the emotions, there is no greater way to make massive wealth in your life than this opportunity. However, there are at least 50% of people, if not far higher than that, just can't manage their emotions that way. They just can't handle the pressure. They just can't counter trade. They want too bad to be accepted by what everyone else is saying and go along with what everyone else is saying, and they just can't do this. This isn't right for them, and they will wash out. There is a certain percentage that if you just share some sense with them and help them understand how to do this, they'll then be like, oh, cool. They're just new to this. They haven't gone through the learning curve, and you can shorten that learning curve for them. And then they get really good at this, and then they get to experience life-changing wealth. And that's exciting for me.
When you're talking about the price being punished, I think there's a lot of catalysts that have already happened that are not priced in. One of them, I think, is the Marvel Comics basically handing the keys to VeVe, saying like, hey, you're in charge now. And obviously we've all talked about this months ago when it happened, but Financial Times over on X, we have almost 6 million followers on there. I think digital comics are a serious business for private equity. And Blackstone on Tuesday said that it would launch a tender offer for Infocom, which is reportedly valuing the online comic company at about 1.8 billion. And as they do that, they say Infocom operates Mecha Comic, which is Japan's largest digital distribution platform for comics. Net profit at the company, where the digital comics account for 3/4 of its sales. So Infocom operates Mecha Comics. Mecha Comics is responsible for 75% of those revenues. They nearly doubled in fiscal year of 2023. And this is, now that we have Viz Media and we're about to get all these mangas on here. So not only do we have comics just for the West, but about to get comics for the East as well. This is something that will likely generate them, maybe not millions right away, but I think tens of millions over the course of the next several years towards the end of the decade. And, you know, what does that do for the company, or what does it do for the token when the company has, and obviously they're not netting that, that's just going to be their gross revenue. But these are things that you don't have to ship. These are things that you don't have to go, and there's no ink, there's no paper. It's just straight up digital. And that is, oh my God, that's such a godsend. The margins of these are insane. So I think as the company gets more and more revenues like this, only going to be good for the token.
Yeah, a lot of people that are new in the crypto space, right? They don't have business investing backgrounds. And what we really are as crypto investors, whether you realize it or not, you're essentially investing in early stage businesses. Now, some of the businesses are just meme coins and that they're just memes. And I do stay away from those ones because they're really hard to value. They're a chance for success. They're more like you're trying to gauge sentiment. There's no business fundamentals to look at. I lean more towards the business fundamental side. Number one, because that's my background. Number two, it's a little bit easier to gauge in that you can look at the team behind it. What is it that they're trying to accomplish? If they're successful in accomplishing that, what kind of future can that have? And I remember watching when football cards were fairly new versus like baseball cards. Baseball cards been around for forever. And football cards came in and basketball cards, and they really struggled in those early years getting some adoption that people were they're like, oh, no, I collect baseball cards. Why would I collect basketball? And even the basketball fans weren't necessarily collecting basketball cards. And then when football cards came out and hockey, it took several years. Like basketball took a real long time to catch on. Football cards caught on faster once they came out, and then hockey cards caught on faster. But even like hockey cards, which really started getting traded, I think 92-ish, they took like 3 or 4 years to do well. But when they did get some traction, because those early releases had such low mints versus the total fan base, those early years became worth a ton because there were so few of those cards versus what the now existing fan base was. VeVe falls into that. Like, what is the existing fan base? Well, the downside of football cards, baseball cards, and everything is that's really a North America, a little bit South America, like Venezuela, a few places that have a lot of baseball going on, and in Canada, but most of the world doesn't play baseball, a little bit in Japan, but they didn't collect cards, and trying to ship them international was a real pain. So there wasn't really a worldwide marketplace. Finally, we have something with collectibles from lots of different cultures coming in. You see VeVe going in, targeting these different cultures. What's important to those collectibles or those cultures. And then it's on this worldwide marketplace where you can buy anywhere in the world like this. And you don't have to think about, is the card really like a grade 10? Is it really the grade 9 they said it is? Did they fake it? Like, you know, it's legit, and you can put it on the marketplace and somebody can buy it 1 minute later. So you truly have a worldwide marketplace. What they're setting up, if this comes together well, is gigantic. If they end up 100xing the number of users in the coming bull run, the number of active users over what it was before, the prices on a lot of these early collectibles will go crazy. As well as people come in, they start doing this collecting thing. They're like, this is so cool. I love it. And I can put it in augmented reality and my kids play with it. They'll then say, what's the token associated with this? Now, they won't say that till the crypto market is going crazy. It's not going crazy yet. So OMI's not doing anything right now. And it's not going to do anything until the crypto market is going crazy. People find the VeVe app and they're like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing. What is the token associated with this? That's when the FOMO comes in. And that's what I'm waiting for. People are like, but Rain, I'm so tired of waiting. When is it going to happen? Well, I came from real estate. So when I was like 2008 through 2010, but really 2010 was the bottom of the market in most of North America and Canada. The top of the market is like last year. So what? That was what? 13 years or something you had to wait. And we're talking about, oh my gosh, it feels like 2.5 years is so long. Yes, it is. And it feels like a ton of time. There's no other volatile market with such massive gains that has a shorter cycle than this. This is the best that we've ever seen, and it's by far better than anything we've ever seen. So yes, it can be frustrating. Deal with it. If you're here to make a lot of money, that just is what it is. And so it's like, you can complain about it, just leave the space, say it's not for me. Or you can just be like, okay, I wish it wasn't so long, but I'm here for the gains and I'll wait. Cool.
So I want to address a couple things. We've been talking about, I just want to give you some examples. So we talk about listening to certain people and just seeing if they've been successful. Now, no one's successful 100% of the time, right? But what are the types of gains, things that people have gotten? And I just have to address this tweet that was made a while ago. But it said, if you can find one correct crypto call that Randy Chavez, Crypto Rain, or Doctor of Stuff has made in the past 3 years, I will send you a free NFT. The ones telling you that they are experts are usually the worst traders of all. So it was interesting because then people actually responded with examples of this, right? Of successful trades. Now, Rain's got a Telegram channel. There's a bunch of people, like he has a community that he's built out, right? And so a lot of those people in the community jumped on. They were like, he called Miria, he called Devi, he called DefX. And they just went off, right? And the person who made this tweet, instead of being like, oh, thanks for this, right? Like literally just called them clowns,
no.
And then one of them, one of the people who follows me was like, actually, Dr. Stuff called out Entangle with the public sale that was at 4.5 cents, and it went to $2 and I think 60 cents, and anyone who actually got in on that made a 66x. And there's some other examples there. And Rain has, example after example. And so I'm just saying, well, first of all, I'm just saying, right? So take that for what it's worth, is that Rain has been in this space for a very long time. And I've learned a lot of things from Rain. One of the things is finding those projects that truly will add value and are sustainable, and then just buying when the prices are low. And so when Big A is saying here, let's see exactly what he said. He said, okay, so buy stuff low, buy stuff when general sentiment is low, buy stuff that won't go to zero. So now that you narrowed it down to 20,000 plus tokens, why OMI? Why not say Bored Ape, for example? There's a couple of things. Is we don't have enough time to dive into every single project and understand it to the level that we feel comfortable with really, really being confident in the token. But that has happened. That has happened with OMI. Like, we've met the team, right? And we're looking what they're building, and we believe that digital collectibles are the future. And so that's why OMI. Like for me, that's one of the reasons that that's why we have this show, is honestly, we're putting our money where our mouth is. We're putting our time where our mouth is, because we believe in this project. That being said, look, Rain, this is OMI is my homie. So we're going to talk about OMI a lot, but Rain has his channel where he talks about a ton of other tokens out there. Right. And it's all about timing. And that's the thing, is people are like, oh, I bought some Rain tokens and I'm down. And it's like, yeah. I bought tokens and I'm down, and I bought tokens that are way up, right? It's all about timing, and not every single one of them is going to work. But it's just ironic that the individual who tweeted this out became an ambassador for a project that rugged literally 2 weeks later. So went to zero. Okay, it went to zero. Yeah.
The due diligence.
But they're going to call. They're going to try to publicly, call us out and stuff. Just absolutely infuriating. And the fact that then again, when people actually did what he asked, he rugged them. He didn't give a free NFT to anyone. What a ridiculous joke, man. Unbelievable. Shame on that individual. How embarrassing is that? So look, you can choose who you want to listen to, right? Because none of this is financial advice. And all we continue to do is say, here are the things that we are interested in. But whenever we talk about that, we're putting our money where our mouth is. And I'll say this, I'm not an ambassador for anyone, but if I was going to be an ambassador for anyone, man, you better believe that I would do so much freaking research. I'd be talking to the members of the team. I'd be so much before I put my name to something. So be very careful. And it's great, right? That tweet, be very careful about who call themselves experts, because they have a big following. Man. Sorry, I just had to air that out. Like Jason said, man, freaking airing that out, because it's
one of the reasons
ridiculous.
I like YouTube over Twitter is you get to listen. Twitter, you get some back and forth, so you get to understand their arguments and how they make them and how they structure them, right? And if they just get into emotional name calling, or they actually have logical arguments that make sense, you're like, oh, this person's really smart. But on YouTube, it's even further. You really get a feel for people in video over everything else. You get their expressions and everything. That's why I like interviews with founders when I'm doing research on it, because the founders, you get a feel for their body language and just how they articulate things. Are they smart? Do they know what they're talking about? And so another thing that some people in crypto don't understand is that you're an early stage business investor. Not everything is going to succeed. Some of them are going to fail. So one of the reasons why I diversify. Now, I rated OMI as the project that I thought still had huge gains potential and the least likely to fail in this bear market. And I still think it is, but I don't only hold OMI in case that happens. However, I do think it's the one that's least likely to happen with, because they have an actual business that does have revenues coming in and met other amazing things that they're probably going to stay around. But there is black swan events that could happen with Ecomi and absolutely sink the ship in a matter of a couple months. And so that is why I never put all my eggs in one basket. When you're investing, when I was still pretty new at this, in the bear market of 2018, 2019, 2020, if I had a YouTube channel back then, which I didn't, you would have seen that I made a ton of mistakes. In fact, 65% of what I invested in went to zero. Only 35% of what I invested in did well. Some of it was I was new. A lot of it was I was listening to people with YouTube channels, didn't realize they didn't know what they were talking about, and that I needed to continue to level up my game so I could make better analysis, because there wasn't somebody I could listen to that had a reasonable analysis that I was looking for. So 65% of it failed, and yet I made a 20x with just the 35% that didn't fail because I diversified. And if you told somebody in any space and you're like, wow, you made a 20x over 4 years, they would say you're crazy, that isn't even possible. Now, I'm somewhat embarrassed by those results of a 65% failure rate. That's better than what a ton of people do, unfortunately, in the crypto space. That's actually not bad. I feel like, gosh, that's kind of embarrassing for me. But even at that, I made 20x returns. Now, had I bought at the very bottom, and I didn't know where the very bottom was, I made 100x on my portfolio from the very bottom, like 100x. Like it hit 30,000 at the bottom of the bear market, and I had put more in that than that, and that was kind of embarrassing to be there. And then it went 100x from there, and I was like, holy cow. And if I had had my YouTube channel, I started buying Cardano at 11 cents. So guess what these fudders would have said when I was buying Cardano at 3 cents? Oh my gosh, see how stupid he is? He bought it 11 cents, and then it went to 7 cents, and then 5 cents. And here's at 3 cents, and he's saying buy more. Oh my gosh, this guy's such an idiot. Look how wrong he is. And then it went to $3.40 down the road. But at that moment in time, it would have seemed like they were right and they knew what they were talking about. Look how wrong his picks is. Cardano, stupid project. And that's what 90% of people were saying at that point. 90%. Most YouTube channels were very bearish on Cardano, and I was loading the boats. Why? Because fundamentally, I felt like they were one of the strongest projects, and that the FUD had hit them really, really hard, and the price had swung very, very low, and I was going to buy. I was not selling at those prices. I was buying. Turned out I was massively right, and that 90% of people, they all shut up, and most of them went away because I don't even know what they were buying, probably what was massively up at the time, that then reversed. So instead of buying low and then riding it to higher, they were probably buying something that was high and then rode to lower, and then they just left the crypto space and weren't even around to apologize for their stupid comments. And I see that happens in the crypto space. Look, a lot of times when you're right, you have to bear the negativity from the 90% that just don't know what the F they're talking about. They're new at this, but they think they know what they're doing, and they don't realize how new they are. They feel like because they're good at whatever else, that somehow they know something in this space, because XYZ YouTube channel that they're listening to is saying the same thing that they are, and everyone else is saying the same thing that they are, so they must be right. And I don't realize they're wrong until later. And by then they've been buying what's high, hoping it's going higher. It reverses on them. They just kind of wither out of the space and decide crypto's stupid. Instead of realizing they're just new and they weren't doing it right, they just wither out of the space like crypto's stupid. And it's not that crypto's stupid, but when you can be in the best space in the world, but if you're doing the wrong things, you'll get wrong results. And it's only those that are doing the right thing. So yes, it's hard to buy when everyone's saying, oh my gosh, this is terrible, it's going to zero. That's where the juicy prices are. But you do need to do some research, and you do want to learn about what makes a company survive through downturns like this, so you have an idea. Is it really dead, or is just people don't know what they're talking about saying it's dead? Like, is VeVe dead? It's not even close to dead. It's one of the most alive companies in the crypto space. Don't let the token price fool you. The business has massive things going on for it. The token sentiment is just way down because people are tired, and it went so high before. You had a lot of people that FOMO'd in at those prices, and they're just capitulating now. The pendulum swinging too far to the other side. It's an amazing time to buy, and most people won't buy at these prices because they can't buy low yet. Most people can't buy low. There are some people that just can't buy low yet, and they will give themselves time enough to learn to become good at this.
So I want to point out there's a difference. Look, and I'm going to do a public apology to Ron's Crypto Therapy. He came on around the OMI verse, right? And there was some debate that Rain had with him and Danny DeBull, right? And where it came off as though like Ron was talking bad about OMI. And what I didn't at the time really take a step back and look at is the difference in mentality. So I look at like Ron's Crypto Therapy, or I look at God's Entry, and they are traders, right? Like more short-term traders, right? Looking for that, which is a completely different setup than what Rain does, right? Rain does this fundamental analysis and is saying, like, I'm going to buy this token and it could go down even further, right? And maybe like I'm holding this for 3 months, 6 months, maybe even a year or a year and a half. Whereas the traders, they're looking at like, look, what the token, I'm looking at this technical analysis. It doesn't look like the token is going to be doing anything. I'm more interested in those shorter term trades. And so I wasn't looking at that from that perspective. When God's Entry is looking at it, when he was on Chavez's channel recently, and he's just like, look, I can't really do TA on this. It's a dead token. He's talking about it from a technical analysis perspective. It's tough to trade within that range, right? But here's the difference in general with this is that you look at the TA people who would have been doing TA on Cardano back then as it's dropping and they're like, this is a dying token. Get out. I'm not trading in this area, right? Whereas Rain kept stacking and buying. And then when it went to $3, he made massive, massive returns. And I think that I just want people to understand that that's like my mindset too, as we're talking about these different tokens, as we're talking about OMI, is that like I'm holding OMI for a longer term because I can't time the market. And like, so I do throw money into other projects that I'm like, I feel like this has a lot better chance at a shorter term gain. To buy into that, right? But like with OMI, like if it hits, when it hits, it could hit big, and I don't want to like be jumping in at that point in time. I do know the founders. I met the founders. I know this project inside and out, and so like I'm stacking. Like I said, I just bought over 1 million more OMI before this stream, you know, so I just felt like I needed to apologize for that, but then point out to people when they're looking at people who talk about technical analysis and they're looking at that token, we're not looking at it from that perspective. We're looking at it from a longer term perspective and the potential gains that can be had if this token just jumps significantly. Now, people are going to argue and be like, okay, well, yeah, but if I put my money into this meme coin and it goes crazy, then I could buy back into OMI. Sure, you could also lose all your money in that meme coin. But what I've seen, and I've done this myself, is that I'm like, oh, I'm going to buy back into this token. I'm going to buy more of this token. I'm going to sell this token, but I'm going to buy it back. And then I don't do it. And then it went crazy. And I was like, I was going to buy that. Why didn't I buy that? And we just typically don't do that. So that's why I'm like, I'm just buying now while these are low and I'm not selling. Even if they're short pumps, I'm not trying to sell and then buy back lower again. I'm not going to do that. But I hope that gives you guys a little bit more perspective, at least on this channel, how we're thinking about this token in the longer term. And could there be other tokens that pump faster? Yeah. And you know what? That's why Rain has this other channel, like on his channel on Thursdays, where they talk about all of these other tokens. And I mean, there's tokens that he's talked about that, you know, within like a month did like a 12x, a 15x, you know, like, so anyways, I just had to go on that a little bit. But then also had to shout out Sleeping Comics. Even though he only says Randy, he doesn't say Crypto Rain or Dr. Stuff. That's okay. We still love you.
We're not friends anymore.
And then OBL, VeVe Fan Bam, VeVe Zombie, like just shouting out some of the people who are here. Bill Gardner, guys, constant, like OG champ. Big A, Gobi Apparatus, Crypto Cosmo, who's been on the channel. What up? Anyways, just shouting out to some of the fam there. Yeah, appreciate y'all.
I know. I absolutely love Sleeping Comics. And at the same time, I totally blame him for Gary Gensler's pick because he's a Biden voter. And he voted for Biden. Biden put in Gary Gensler. So it's all Sleeping Comics' fault because if he hadn't voted for Biden, we wouldn't be dealing with Gary Gensler.
Make crypto great again. Come on, Sleeping. What's happening, man?
We have some good news on that front. Well, not necessarily for Biden, but Trump mentioned how he will end the war on crypto from this administration and make America the leading country for crypto. He had mentioned this yesterday. I think that's something that would be that he honestly wants to do. And I know people say like, oh, he's a politician. He'll say anything to get elected. Okay, fair point. A lot of politicians do that, but if we go based on certain people's actions in the past and what policies they had, it seems that Trump is pretty pro-America, regardless of who else it affects. And sometimes that's maybe not the best thing. Like when pulled out of the Paris Accords, I kind of didn't really like that, because I thought that even though that might have been good for America, it probably wasn't the best for the world. But then it turned out the governors re-signed all those bills, and that was fine anyway. It actually worked out better. But when he says he wants to make America the #1 place for crypto, regardless of how much electricity it eats, regardless of how much whatever, I think that's going to be overall very big net positive, just for crypto.
Yeah, I would say I don't think he knows tons about crypto yet. He's probably getting caught up on it. And the truth is, like, he could sit down with Brian Armstrong and, you know, some other top people, and they could fill him in on things and tell him like how he could make America the #1 place for crypto. Like that could get done. So whether he'll win the upcoming election, I don't know. But I would love to see the U.S. politicians make the U.S. the crypto hub of the world. Right now, you're the redheaded stepchild. You can't get on most of the exchanges out there. Nobody wants to pre-sell to you. Like everything is, you're crapped on if you're in the U.S. And so to reverse that everyone's like, yes, you're in the U.S. We want your money. Oh, yes. Pre-sales. Oh, yeah. Early stage investment, everything. Oh, all our exchanges are open to you. Man, wouldn't that be amazing?
Sleepin says that he's got some orange chicken, and there's this place called, well, I won't dox where I live. There's this place, the Chinese place, a couple blocks away from me, and it looks like the dirtiest place ever. Like it would have some health violations, but the orange chicken, the sesame chicken, the General Tso's, it's all so good. And they finally got them. The healthcare shut it down, and the Darth Vader, no, what that I bellowed when I saw that. I was the big sad. I just had to vent there. I'm sorry. We can continue with the show now. Or we can continue in another way. All right. So one of the last things that I wanted to go over, not last, but one of the next things, is the scam email that's going around. I think that Big A happened to have he's the one that brought that to VeVe's attention. VeVe's been going out and really, this might be my collectibles. I guess he's in charge now of the account, going in and shouting out people like me on the stream, or just when I would do other streams, and obviously us on this stream. I think they shouted out O'Milly on a space the other day as well. But there was a scam email going around, and the scam email is from a no reply at we-agri.co, and it takes you to a website that looks like it's VeVe's website, but it's not app.veve.me. It's app-veve.me. And most likely it's something that'll have you just like connect and drain your wallet somehow. But yeah, shout out to Big A for bringing that to VeVe's attention, and VeVe went and responded. I guess that makes sense.
All right. Shout out on the super chat there. Whose wallet holds most of the 22 billion Bitfrex?
So I don't think we know whose OMI that is. I think there's an effort by the team and other people to find out, and we can come up with maybe a couple billion people's OMI that could be on there, but there was a lot, and I don't know what happens with that. Worst case scenario, it just gets dumped, like as they dump to cover up the rest of their losses. Best case scenario, people get their money back. But that best case scenario, as people get that back, most people, hopefully, they just have it in self-custody. But I think as people get that back, because they were so wounded by that and they're so hurt, they're just like, okay, I'm just going to get out. So you might see some downward pressure for that, for short-term losses on OMI, again, in the short term. The long term, love to go and buy some if it goes down any further.
Dr. Stuff made a good point about short-term trading versus long-term trading. And there are like people who take these short-term trades. Is OMI a good short-term trade? No, it is not a good short-term trade. It broke through this resistance. And so if you're looking to hold for a month or two, OMI's a really risky bet. Why? Because it probably will go cheaper. Now, I don't mind buying in this because I'm a value buyer. I buy in this zone. In fact, I've been buying in this whole zone. And sometimes it then gets cheaper, which I then like, okay, cool. Thank you for bringing my dollar cost average price down. I'm going to buy some more in this zone. And I pray that it goes down even cheaper because I believe in their long term. And so I'm not even hoping in the short term that it goes up. I'm hoping that it goes down. I wish some of my other bags would pump and OMI would go down cheaper so I could sell some things that are up to buy some more that's low. And maybe that'll happen. I'm hoping that plays out that way. But I want to accumulate more OMI for as cheap as possible. So I don't see it as a bad thing going down. Now, short-term traders, if they're saying, oh my gosh, I don't buy in this zone, shoot, we just reviewed OMI on the channel with Paul. And Paul's like, yeah, that's against my principles. He's mostly a shorter-term trader. He's like, I'll wait till it breaks above this level. That's confirmation that it's going up. And then he takes that swing and he holds it on the upside till it's clear that it's reversing. So good point, Doctor of Stuff. I found that this method of generally buying low and then selling generally high outperforms everything else I've seen, specifically in the crypto space. And that's why I like it. And it doesn't require huge amounts of technical knowledge, technical analysis. I do hope most people realize that most TA experts in the crypto space have at most like 2 years technical analysis experience. So it's not like, you know, they're bringing 20 or 30 years experience. They're just covering TA. Yeah. Are they good at it? Most aren't. And even then, like, they're not wrong to say OMI is not in a buy zone for a short-term trade. It's a terrible short-term trade on the technical analysis. Terrible. Likely it'll go down more before it then goes up.
So I think this is a good segue into like OMI to NFT, right? Because so Turtle, who just did that super chat, you're awesome, Turtle, by the way. You know, and one of the things he asked was like, how can we, you know, what are some ideas to create some community, like ways for the community to burn more of the token, which I love that. And that's something like I definitely need to brainstorm. I haven't sat back and really thought about that, but like I do believe that OMI to NFT is going to have some sort of mechanic that burns OMI, a certain amount of OMI. And I don't know what that will be, what that looks like. But when we're looking at the price action there, one of the things that fundamental analysis does, that technical analysis doesn't take into consideration is things like OMI to NFT or what the team is doing that's going to build out that could increase sentiment, which they can increase like eyes on the token, right? So OMI to NFT, I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on this, but like for me, OMI to NFT, I think in the short term, there might be like, once they announce it, and I think it's coming in the next, before Q3. I do. I believe it's coming before Q3.
Before Q3 or during Q3?
Oh, so sorry. During Q3. Did I say before Q3? Before the end of Q3.
Say that we get it next week.
I think by like end of July, honestly, end of July, maybe gets pushed out to end of August. But like if they've been saying that OMI to NFT is like their top priority, it's going to be really wild if it's taking until the end of Q3 to get that. Honestly, I'm not a dev, so I won't speak to that. But like 9 months, it seems like a pretty long time for that to happen. So I'm thinking end of July, latest end of August. That's my mental time frame. And if they push past it, then I'm going to start asking questions, being like, "What's going on?" And I think it's fair to ask that. But when that happens, I do think that there's going to be a short-term pump on the OMI token and the price, just like when we saw that they lowered the threshold to $100 from $500, right, on the cash out. There's a huge pump, and then a different whale just sold into that pump and destroyed that pump right away. And it was funny to see the Twitter reactions there. You know, the Moon Boys freaking out about the price pump, and then the Fudders laughing at the price dump. But I think OMI to NFT is going to be a game changer, and not right off the bat. There might be a short-term price pump, but I think over time, and as the narrative hits, if it hits for digital collectibles and NFTs, again, this bull run, when they're looking at, okay, who has all this IP, and they find VeVe, and then they hear that it's a deflationary token through these mechanics, guys, people are going to freak out about that. crypto people love deflationary things, like they do, right? Or so I'm pretty excited, but I'd love to hear what you guys think like the longer term impact is for OMI to NFT, for the sentiment and activity in the app, and the price, if any.
I think longer term it's bullish. How many people would bring in the short term? What I'm really waiting for is that cascading event where the world generally wakes up to crypto and starts FOMOing in. And then they start the cascade, they start to look for what's substantive out there. And so kind of the meme coins usually wrap up like that's usually an entry thing for people, but what's substantive? And then they buy that and then they tell their friends and their friends buy that. And VeVe has substance that's something tangible that people can hold on to. They can easily download the app. They can share on social media, kind of some pictures that they're interested in, and it can go viral really fast. And that's when VeVe goes really well. And I think this sets a foundation that's important for when that cascade event happens. Will in and itself cause the cascade event? Probably not. It'll go up, people will get excited, and then it might even come back down for some more time. What I'm really waiting for is that cascade event, and I'm glad that hopefully OMI to NFT is well in place before that, because that will be a critical part of OMI getting lots and lots of use, as people can then exit through selling their NFTs to OMI and then easily exit out of OMI, and people can get OMI hopefully on the app. Like they're just it'll be a better marketplace that'll be awesome, that for when that cascade event happens, for things to go absolutely crazy. So I don't even care if it happens in the next 2 months. I'm just like, come on, please happen in the next 6 months. Like, I just want that to be in place before that cascade event happens. I don't know when that cascade event happens, whether it happens in 4 months or whether it happens in 16 months or what the deal is. That's what I'm waiting for to then exit OMI. In the meantime, OMI's price, I'd love for it to get half is the price it's at now, go even lower, and allow me to keep dollar cost averaging while, you know, I would love for it to then launch and people be like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. It didn't massively pump, and them to dump the OMI token more. And I'd be like, thank you very much. Better dollar cost average price. And I'm still just going to wait for that cascade event.
Yeah, I think Rain's right. You have a history of, I don't want to say negative a history of people feeling let down, that as soon as something rolls out, it doesn't pump your bags right away. Before we had an app and people were just like, "Hi, you know, is this really is really a thing that the founders are doing? You know, is this a rug?" And then the app came out, and I was like, "Oh my god, they really did it! They got first appearance of these amazing characters on the blockchain," and not a ton of people were buying, and the token didn't really do that much until I think like 2 months later, and then it went insane. It did like 1,000x, and then when they've done that again with Marvel, it took a couple days, but then it went up. Same thing with Disney, although I think the Disney pump was more eminent. But I feel like now with OMI to NFT, it'll be great for the burn if we have something like that. I can't imagine that they won't. I'd imagine they'd have at least some type of burn. So the lower it goes, the better it is. But I think that's going to be a slow burn, and that's something that you're not going to see the results of right away. So when that comes out and people are like, oh, okay, you know, this will pump the bags, and then it doesn't, people might get discouraged and they're like, okay, nothing's going to save this. And then they'll sell. So you might see some downward pressure there. And which again, is going to be good for us if we're on a dollar cost average. But over the long term, God, that's going to be incredible. I'll have some interviews lined up with the third party that they said they would have, and I'll have some interviews lined up with a lot of the people involved after that gets announced. When does that get announced? I don't know. I don't think it gets announced right away. I would say they'd probably want to wait till after the 4th of July, after everyone's all, you know, that holiday's over. So I'd give it at least a couple weeks. But if I'd rather them wait and it come out with no bugs as opposed to them rushing and then it coming out with a bunch of bugs, and everyone's like, see, they rolled, like when MCP rolled out, I think there were a few bugs with that. I think when you had the VeVe Comics app, there were definitely a bunch of bugs with that. But then people don't really talk about that anymore because it was fixed and now people are happy, at least with those things. That's just kind of my take on it.
Well, you know, I got to shout out Omili Tease. He made this post the other day right? And it was kind of this meme, and there's these two people on a train, and one person is looking out one side of the train that's kind of like overlooking this cliff into this valley, and the sun is shining, right? And then the other person is looking at the other side where it's like looking into the rock of the cliff and it's all dark and dreary, right? And the person looking at the cliff and dark and dreary is like, I can't believe that these, NFT grails on VeVe are at these prices. They're so low. And then the guy looking at like this, the sun and stuff is like, I can't believe that grails are at these prices right now. And it's interesting, right? You hear a lot of times you follow like what this, like the smart money is doing, what the big money is doing. And what's interesting, right? And the whole purpose of the post was really to show perspective that, one man's garbage is another man's like treasure, right? Be interesting to see, but there's some people with a lot of money that are doubling, tripling down on VeVe, like grails. And we say grails, like some of the NFTs or the digital collectibles that went really high, in January of 2022, right? When there was that whole gen exploit and all that high liquidity and easy money, like those grails, like people are buying. They're buying, and we're seeing these sales, right? Like, and that's another thing that I thought was funny is people are like, oh, VeVe's dead, and it's like, if VeVe's dead, how can someone sell their collectible for like $8,000? How's that possible? Who's buying that if it's dead, right? And that's the thing. I think that people should at least take a step back and think about that, right? Try to process what that means. Now, these people have disposable income, right? And they can afford for that to go to zero, whatever they're buying, right? They're whales for a reason. But the fact that they're still dropping so much money on that, I mean, Randy, doesn't Bezos Man now have 50,000 collectibles? Isn't he up to 50,000 collectibles right now?
Correct.
And you can go on Stacker and you can start seeing like some of the like Dr. Profit. Dr. Profit has like
17,000.
200 like UR Vaders, I mean, it's insane, right? Like, and you look at the top 500 wallets and they're still buying. They're buying and buying and buying. And like I'm in the top 500 and it's been fun. I've been kind of climbing the ranks a little bit because I've been buying at these prices. Now, look, full disclosure, right? This could all go to zero. I think that people need to be very understanding of that point, that we're not under some illusion that this is 100% guaranteed. Nothing is 100% guaranteed. We say that all the time. But I feel like we have to still say that all the time. Nothing's guaranteed. But again, like with the team and where this is going, where we think Digital Collective is going in the future, we feel like it's a pretty solid bet, right? And so we're doubling down on these prices. And I would say that I am focusing a lot more now. For a while, I focused on sets and getting my MCP points up, right? So that I could take advantage of that. But now I'm starting to look at like what I think are the grails. I'm buying a lot more comics. Mr. MC1 recently shared this article that talks about digital comics and like the valuation of one of these digital comic companies is in the billions now, and we'll see where that goes. But just something to think about, ladies and gentlemen, is what are the people that have been successful in other avenues? What are they doing here in the crypto space? Now, just because they've been successful in other avenues doesn't mean they'll be successful here. But again, it's another data point that I think that people need to take and think about.
Yeah, I wanted to share a couple of things. First of all, I was teasing our friend about who we voted for. And that was just a joke. It's not his fault. So Sleep in Comics, we love you. And just poking some fun at you. I really, most people who vote for Joe Biden, I think they hope for more. And I find a lot of people who vote for the Democrat Party in general, they do it because they want the world to be a nicer place and they want the world to be a more fair place. And they aren't wrong in wanting that. And they hope that Joe Biden would deliver that. Now, whether he has or not, there's some differing opinions on that. And like every politician kind of lets you down. As far as like crypto, like I think some really good points have been covered as far as OMI and what's going on VeVe. There's some people that just want to think VeVe is dead, and that's cool. like some comments by our friend SoCal Omi Homie about it's the same 3,000 to 4,000 people buying everything. There's not that many active wallets. You aren't wrong there. This is what bear markets are like. And I wish there wasn't so many. I wish there was 500 active wallets so that the collectibles would go a hell of a lot cheaper. Now, in a lot of things, there aren't even 3,000 or 4,000 active wallets. Like I think some other NFT projects like NBA Top Shots and NFL All Day and UFC Strike are massively undervalued because there aren't even 3,000 to 4,000 active wallets buying them. There are far fewer numbers than that. That doesn't mean that when the bull market comes that they won't go absolutely crazy. And I just wish there wasn't such a big VeVe fam, because I would love the grail prices to be like a third of what they are now. And the reason they're not that low and the pendulum hasn't swung down that far is because there is a very vibrant VeVe community during this bear market. Most communities are completely anemic during this bear market, like completely anemic. Unless their price has been pumping and people are jumping on that bandwagon, or some major YouTube influencer has been saying this project's amazing, which becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, then their communities are pretty much dead, especially if their token price has been anywhere near the kind of retracement that like OMI's seen. For example, somebody brought up Render, right? And I'll share the Render charts. Look, I loved Render at these prices, and I covered Render on my channel. I was like, oh my gosh, Render is a great long-term project. It's massively undervalued. At this price, it's juicy and amazing. So you could have bought it somewhere in here for about 50 cents. It's now $7.805. And, you know, there's some really big YouTube channels. I'm like, Render's amazing. Render's amazing. I just loaded up on Render and it's gone absolutely amazing. And they're not wrong. Render is a great project. Fundamentally, it's a strong project, which is why I loved it at these prices. Do I buy Render at these prices? I don't know. This is what I call buying high, hoping it goes higher. Now, it could, or this could be a double top. It might, in the short term, get absolutely further devastated. It's unclear whether it's going to break further to the downside or keep going up. It's helped that some of the biggest YouTube channels have jumped on the bandwagon of Render, and it's mostly their audience that they've been convincing to sell out of other tokens to roll into Render. In where we are in the market, Render to me is risky. Render to me is much, much more risky than OMI. A lot of people completely disagree because 90% of people in the crypto space will tell you, oh, Render, it's safe, it's amazing. Cool. That should be your concerning sign. Now, whether it'll go from here, I don't know. In the general bull market, Render will go a lot higher than this. What will it do in the short term? It could massively retrace from here. It's unclear. This is exactly what a double top often looks like. So there's a higher percent chance that it breaks lower than here than when it goes up. This is not what I'm buying, and this isn't what I buy. I buy what's juicy here. Now, the frustrating thing, if you had bought way back here, is like way back here, it's like, oh, Render is so juicy. Look at this. It's 48 cents. And then it went to 40 cents. Now, this hadn't happened yet, right? So it was like, oh my gosh, Render. But substantively, I felt like Render was a really solid project. And then it went absolutely crazy. And it's like, well, shoot. Okay. But I don't chase into this. I let it play out. And some people have different strategies. Maybe they like the technical analysis and they want to take that upside that it goes up further. Cool. That's where we differ. I tend to buy cheap and then I just wait. And they're not wrong that in the blow off top, will Render go higher from here? I will be shocked if Render doesn't go higher than this. So it kind of depends as well as the time frame. In the short term, I'm worried about Render, but I'm also worried about OMI in the short term, the price action. In the long term, I think both will do good, but OMI has far more upside potential, in my opinion, than Render does. And that's like the riskier bet that I'm going to take. Render, is it likely to fail from here into the bull market? No, I would be shocked if it fell from here into the bull market. I'd give it like a 2% chance. Will VeVe fail from here into the bull market? Again, I'd be shocked if that happened. I'd give it like a 2% chance. So why I'm buying OMI versus Render is it's like higher upside potential because Render's market cap is so high. I mean, let's look at what Render's market cap is. And we don't know how this will play out, right? This is real time looking at something. Maybe I end up being wrong on this. But look, it's already top. What was it? Showing what position it is in the market cap. So Render is number 29 on CoinMarketCap. So it's the 29th most expensive project out there. Cool. Its market cap is 3 billion. So where could it go from here? I don't know, 50 billion, maybe more. That's about a 15x from here. That's really not bad. Maybe it goes double that and it hits a 30x. Cool. OMI, its market cap is 140 million.
Up 16% today. Woo.
Yeah. Okay. There we got the charts back. The charts all disappeared. 143 million. Where could it go from here? Boy, if it went 100x from here, that would only be a $14 billion market cap.
That's without any burns.
So that's why I say OMI over like Render. And it's not, I don't disagree that Render is a completely solid project. It's just the multiples left to it have mostly been, it's already realized a bunch of those gains. So I like to buy very cheap, and just hold till it's expensive. And Render's somewhat expensive. I think it'll get more expensive, but it's already realized a bunch of those gains. Render has whale wallet distributions like OMI. There are some massive whales that hold Render as well. The worst one for that is freaking Solana and Chainlink. Massive whales hold massive positions in those.
I think that was all the stuff that I had for today. Did y'all have any other stuff to go over?
I wanted to get your guys's. So David had spoken at Twitter Space a while back and said, or Sanjay, I thought it was David. I'm pretty sure it's David. But that there were supposed to be 2 announcements of some major IP, right? Mm-hmm. And that this IP, the manga, wasn't even the big IP that they were announcing.
Correct.
I still am like, I've been talking with Crypto Cosmo. I was like, man, I am trying to think of like what is bigger than Disney, right? Because David had said that this now, like, I had assumed that the IP that they announced with this manga was what that was, because I was like, oh, you got Dragon Ball Z, you got Naruto, you have all of this, anime and stuff. And so I thought, I was like, maybe that is bigger than Disney. I didn't know, but apparently that's not the big one. So I'd love to hear in the chat what you guys think like that's going to be, because for me, I was trying to rack my brain. It's like, what is bigger than Disney? And I'm like, well, one speculation is a while back, and there's a couple tie-ins, and again, this is speculation, right? But David had worn a SpaceX hat, right? And then not only that, but he follows like 18 people on Twitter, right? And one of them is Elon. Now, look, almost everyone follows Elon, right? So it could just be that there. But then again, you got the SpaceX hat and Elon. Could it be SpaceX? Or because I'm trying to think of like what could be bigger than Disney. So I would love some people's ideas as to what that would be. But like I'm pretty pumped. Now let me pull back just a little bit. And as much as I'm very excited for whatever IP is announced that's bigger than Disney, as we saw with Blackpink, right? This doesn't necessarily mean that that's onboarding new users. What I would love to see, and if the team is watching, right, is there needs to be some additional engagement type things in the app besides just the AR, right? And that's what, like, I would love to see offers. I'd love to be able to make an offer and search some people. I have been looking to try to match my VeVe gold and silver logo, like mint numbers, to all of the other VeVe logos. I've never, like, I'm on there and I'm trying to search it. I can't ever find it. I would love to, I can see who has it on Stacker. I'd love to be able to go out and reach out to that person and be like, hey, can we chat? Like, I would love to make you an offer on that. And then again, like some sort of trading mechanism and things like that. So sorry. Those were a couple of things that were on my mind that I'm excited for the IP. I would love to know what it is, but then also some of the thoughts of what you guys think VeVe could be implementing to keep engagement up within the app.
I do like that we're seeing leaderboards, right? And that has unfortunately led to more people buying damn collectibles, which I want prices cheaper, not more expensive. So stop buying everyone so I can get cheaper. But it's smart, right? Because it creates some engagement. And some of the engagement is like, there's things that they can do in the bear market, but like it's really hard. And people are like, if they were better, engagement would be so much higher. And it's like, really? Have you been through a bear market before? Like Axie Infinity at this point was giving away free Axies if you would just message their people on Telegram, trying to get people to play the game. NBA Top Shots at this point, last early bull market, was giving influencers 10 packs for free if they would just cover it. And they couldn't get big influencers to even mention NBA Top Shots. So look, this is all par for the course, though not that good ideas aren't appreciated, because I feel like they've implemented some and there are more good ideas they can implement. That impact is really going to be felt as the cascade happens. But sorry, so I didn't give any good ideas there because I don't have any.
I have a bunch. I don't know if they're good or not. I mean, option one is you have expensive marketing like Cryptoys did. They got that big dude from TikTok. He had several 100,000 followers. And then they got iJustine, who had a couple million followers. And they're big in Web 2. They have big audiences. But did that translate to any amount of sales? Probably very little. So if they can do big, expensive marketing, like paying 50,000, 100,000 to some of these big marketers, but have the influencers be in Web 3, that would obviously be the best. Now, I'm not saying to go in and get Logan Paul or BitBoy or Crypto RS again. We've done that already. That'll cost maybe low 7 figures for a major marketing campaign, but they could just hire someone or give someone on the team. They don't need to hire anyone. They could just put responsibility on someone that's already working for them. Give it a budget of like $5,000 per month to go to each and every member of these meme communities and say like, hey guys, we have $1,000 worth of the tokens that you love in this community to give away. And then all you have to do is download the VeVe app and buy at least one collectible. So this way you get new users constantly. And that one collectible, it could be a comic for $1.25, $1.50, whatever it is. And if you do that for every single meme token community out there, you'll get hundreds of new accounts per month for very little money. Now, whenever you have a new drop, you could reach out to every single journalist that covered the character or license over the last few months and say like, hey, be advised, this amazing character that you've been covering is having a drop on VeVe, and have the journalists frame it in any way they want. But it's just to get eyes on the project. Even though I feel like some of those times when Variety puts out that article, you have like the anti-NFT peeps. It's like, oh God, no, Cookie Monster's now an NFT and everything is worse now, because they don't understand. But what Earth 2 has been doing like the last year and a half is absolutely magical. They've delayed their metaverse for years now, just like VeVe, but the community is pumped because they release a teaser video of the engine rendering or gameplay every single month. And they get hundreds of thousands and sometimes millions of views on those videos. So they don't need to go in and show us how many worlds there are in the VeVeverse or what those IP branded worlds are. They could just go and blur that out and just give us a tease. Like, remember when they had that little tease and then Chavez went on and said, oh, I think we have cars over here. And it was a little 3-inch photo that we have. And the community will go haywire. The referral program, again, is something that Earth 2 had, where you get 5% back on your purchase if you use someone's referral code, and they got 5% back on your purchase as well. They've since upped that to 7.5%. I know the margins probably aren't there for that much percentage giveaway, but if they have them do that, where if you get even 2 or 3%, you get every influencer with a following to promote for you, and they'll do that for free. And sometimes Walmart, to bring in kind of the real world in, they take a loss on certain items and hope that you'll shop around more and put them back into the black with other products. Now, don't do that with major licenses, obviously, but having something simple like numbered NFTs, lettered NFTs, just VeVe IP that they can make that themselves and have it go for cheap. Cool. Get the cheap people, not the cheap people, entice the people with cheap products in the door, and then they have the grails and they have everything. So these are just some ideas that I've had. I've already messaged these to the team. So that's, if they implement that, great. If not, in the next 6 months, I'm going to do a Thanos and be like, fine, I'll do it myself. And I will just do all this stuff. They can't stop me. Like, I don't care if they're not ready. Like this, do it on your own, or I'll do it and I'll be wild with it. So pick your poison there.
Yeah, that kind of influencer campaign where there's some kind of rewards for getting people the referral program would be a good idea if they could do it. I hadn't put much thought into the meme coin idea. That's interesting. Going in, because a lot of these meme coin communities, when meme coins, that narrative will end and they'll roll into other things. So maybe it's not a bad idea. I haven't seen that implemented before, and maybe a project has. So I don't know what kind of success it have. It's not a bad idea though. Hiring George, yeah, no. Like I was always disappointed by that sponsorship, and that George didn't know crap about VeVe and OMI. He took the deal, but he didn't ever spend the time to learn what was going on with him. So when he talked about him, it was totally uninformed. Same thing with BitBoy, and I was like, nah. Like, yeah, and one of my favorite companies, Devio, they did a thing with Crypto Banter, and they got the worst advertising from Crypto Banter. I guess they had spoken to him in depth like 2 years prior. And so by the time he was actually doing the sponsorship, like he didn't hardly remember anything about it. And like, he's like, oh yeah, Devio, they're launching their token, blah, 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 blah. I can't really say whether they're a good deal or not. I don't know much about them. And it's like, oh, wow, you took however much money for it and you don't know much about them. Okay. Why would you do that? Like, I was like, that was like wasted money and a wasted spot. Like Devio has 8 million transactions per second. Like there's so much substantive about them. And they paid you probably a bunch of money and you didn't even look into it. Number one, do you take sponsors that you don't know anything about? Number two, like, why don't you put the time in to learn about? So that was disappointing. So hiring big influencers, not the way to go. I don't know. I think even if they don't change their trajectory, they just keep getting big IP and rolling out what they're doing. I think that cascade is coming. All this other stuff, if they do right, is extra gravy.
Great. I know, Doc, you have to go, and I have to bounce pretty soon too. Final thought?
Yeah, I'll go. First and foremost, if you haven't already, smash that like button. I love it if you guys could follow us, like it. Obviously, like that, YouTube loves that algorithm of the likes and commenting it down below, right in that comment box. Not during the live stream, but down below on the page there. It helps push out the, this stream in our channels. It gets it more exposure. Love that. And again, just appreciate you guys who are here. It's a very easy thing to hit that like button. But just to recap, guys, first and foremost, there's a lot of channels out there that have a lot of subscribers that don't know what they're talking about, right? That haven't been successful in the investing part of it, of picking tokens. Now, some of those people, just because they talk about it, the price goes up. That's not the same as picking a token and not having that influence and buying it and then having that go up, right? And again, none of this is financial advice. We continue to just say, these are our opinions. This is what we're doing there. So take that. I mean, some of these, like Rain has a decent sized channel, right? Like just listen to it and say, does this work for you? Right. And put your big boy pants on or anything like that and make that decision for yourself. But I look at Rain's channel and I look at his success that he's had over time. And that's why I've attached myself to him, honestly. Like, and I constantly talk with him about these things is I've seen him become a multimillionaire from his investments in crypto. And I didn't listen to him. I didn't listen to him for 4 years. And I
was there laughing at me when I was talking about crypto. And it's like, don't bring up crypto again.
Yeah,
back in 2019 and 2020.
I looked at a text and he was like, look, man, there's this token Cardano. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, why? Why didn't I listen? Right. And so I have changed and I'm listening now, and the good thing, like, look, there's some things that Rain talks about that I'm like, that token's not for me. And that's okay. Right. You guys get to make that decision. That's the cool thing. Right. And I guess that's where I'm trying to go with this is number one is just because they have a big channel doesn't necessarily mean they know what they're talking about. You can listen to that and then you can see their track record. You can look at Rain's videos. He talked about render when it was lower there, right? But you can go and see those videos for yourself and see if that's the case. I have tweets out there of projects that I said I'm bullish on, and like I don't really tout that stuff like on Twitter, but there was a couple times where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to kind of flaunt this, right? When I talked about on my channel, I was like, here's a high risk, high reward play. I was like animal concerts, and then like literally within 24 hours, or maybe it's 48 hours, it did like a 4x, you know, just like that. And I was like, this is something I'm buying. Now I've been buying at even lower prices, and it was a 12x for me. But I'm just saying, like, yeah, just own your decisions, whatever they are, but don't make the decision based on just because this person has a huge following that they must know what they're talking about. That being said, one of the reasons we constantly talk about OMI, why we even have this channel, is number one, the community. Like Randy said, when he's betting on the community, I love this community so much. Like it's phenomenal. I'm so excited to go to San Diego Comic-Con with Rain, Crypto Cosmos, seeing Randy and Sanjay and VeVe Fam Bam and all these people with like Deadpool. Like all of these events that are being organized from the community is phenomenal. And that's another reason that makes me bullish is, you know, like maybe there only are 4,000 to 12,000 daily active users right now, depending on the drop, right, that's happening there. But man, we are strong and we're not going anywhere. And I think that that's what's going to ride OMI through the bear market. So that's all I got, fam.
Absolutely. VeVe Fan Band, we're so bummed that you were late. You're HR for this channel. Did you not know that? And HR should be late. It's such a bad look.
I hate HR.
She's the human resource for the VeVe family.
We love you, Fan Band.
Guys, you know what? I gotta go.
All right.
Appreciate you,
Everyone,
fam. Peace
peace
out.
out.
Peace. Meow.